Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now, revealing the price of Trump's tariffs on Canadian jobs.
To see the aggregate number reach that size in 1 month, very worrisome.
What does the future hold for the workforce?
People who don't just occupy portfolios, but they get things done.
Who could be in or left out as Prime Minister Carney prepares to unveil his new cabinet?
In my brain, I have to readjust because he is our brother. In my own mind, he is Bob. He is my brother.
Plus, who is Pope Leo XIV? Learning more about the new leader of the Catholic Church from the Canadians who know him.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
We begin with a troubling new jobs report revealing the toll U.S. tariffs are taking on the Canadian labor market. While overall, the national job numbers were up slightly, manufacturing took a big hit, and the unemployment rate jumped to 6.9% last month, the highest it's been since last November. Let's bring in CTV's John Venevali-Rao, who's been following the numbers for us. John, what can you tell us?
Heather, the April jobs report showed how tariffs may be starting to choke the labor market. Just a week after GM announced more than 700 workers will be laid off at this auto plant in Oshawa, Ontario, another ominous sign that Trump's tariffs are taking a bite, with the latest jobs report showing the country lost 31,000 manufacturing jobs in April, the bulk of them in Ontario.
I really think the blame for this negative number today rests squarely on one set of shoulders, and that's the U.S. president.
In a month where another big automaker, Stellantis, temporarily shut down a plant in Windsor, Ontario for 2 weeks because of U.S. tariffs on imported vehicles, unemployment in Windsor shot up in April to 10.7%, in an area where the auto sector accounts for 4 out of every 10 manufacturing jobs. Nationally, the economy added a better-than-expected 7,000 jobs, though most of it related to temporary hiring during the federal election.
Without that, we would have had a big decline in general employment in Canada, especially led by the manufacturing sector.
With tariffs imposed on cars, steel, aluminum, and other products, the Bank of Canada has warned growth could slow as exports drop, prices rise, and jobs are lost. Overall, in April, the unemployment rate went up from 6.7 to 6.9%.
I don't see any way we don't hit 7% next month. Like, could we touch 7.5 by the end of the summer? It's possible.
Meanwhile, the rise in the unemployment rate makes it more likely the Bank of Canada will further cut interest rates next month in an effort to boost the economy. Heather.
All right, John, thank you. Prime Minister Mark Carney will unveil his new cabinet on Tuesday. CTV's Rachel Ayala is standing by in Ottawa with more on who could be in or out. Rachel.
Heather, Prime Minister Mark Carney and his inner circle are finalizing some major decisions about the makeup of the next federal cabinet. The Prime Minister will present his new front bench on Tuesday. In anticipation, speculation is swirling around Parliament Hill about which rookies or Carney recruits could be in line for a promotion. Among the fresh Liberal faces to watch are ex-Carney advisor Tim Hodgson, École Polytechnique shooting survivor Nathalie Provost, former Quebec Finance Minister Carlos Leto, economist Caroline Desrochers, and ex-Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson. There's also chatter about which Justin Trudeau-era ministers may be reassigned or removed, and whether Carney will keep the group he brought with him to meet Donald Trump in their portfolios.
You have to balance gender, region, you have to balance old and new.
Among the veterans to keep an eye on are Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne, International Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, Industry Minister Anita Anand, and Internal Trade Minister Chrystia Freeland. As for whether this roster will be larger than Carney's pre-election selection, well, Carney told reporters this time last week to stay tuned.
I committed to an efficient cabinet, a focused cabinet, cabinet with parity, gender parity.
Once Carney's new cabinet is sworn in, they'll have 2 weeks to get up to speed before Parliament resumes. Heather?
CTV's Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Rachel, thank you. Two recounts were announced today in a federal election where the Liberals sit just 3 seats shy of a majority. Liberal candidate Eric Kazmierczuk lost by 77 votes to Conservative Kathy Borelli in a Windsor riding. A judge ruled today that a recount should be held. And in the Newfoundland riding of Terra Nova, the Peninsulas, where Liberal Anthony Germain sits just 12 votes ahead of Conservative Jonathan Rowe, Elections Canada says a judicial recount will also be held.
I, John Joseph Hogan, KC, do swear that I will be faithful.
The new Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador and his cabinet were sworn in today. 47-year-old John Hogan was elected to lead the governing Liberals at a convention last weekend. The province has to hold its next election by October.
Coming up on CTV News, I'm Avis Favreau.
Our interventions have a chance of really making a difference in this awful disease.
How this made-in-Canada technology may become a new tool in the fight against ALS, giving patients new hope. Coming up on CTV National News.
Pope Leo led his first Mass after making history, becoming the first American pontiff to lead the Catholic Church. We're also hearing from the Cardinals for the first time since the conclave. CTV's Geneviève Bushman is in Vatican City. Geneviève, what are we hearing from Canadians?
Yes, Heather, the conclave is held in secret, of course, but the Canadian Cardinals had some insight to share about the new Pope.
Pope Leo XIV led the first full Mass of his papacy. And the first American Pope began his homily in English.
You have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission.
This after speaking Italian and Spanish when he was first introduced to the world at St. Peter's Square yesterday.
We pray together, we share, we walk together, we have coffee and donuts and good Italian pastries.
Quebec Cardinal Gérard Lacroix says he has spent some time with the new Pope and that he has the qualities needed to unite the Church and speak to the world.
You get to see who this man is. You see how he is with others. He talks with everybody.
Pilgrims and tourists milling about on St. Peter's Square were abuzz with news of Leo XIV's nationality today.
I think the fact that he's the first American Pope is very exciting, and I hope that the Italians feel the same way.
Not all do, and many analysts had concluded a U.S. pontiff from a military and economic superpower was unthinkable. But Canadian Cardinals say he is a universal man who has worked as a missionary in Peru, lived in Rome, and traveled the world.
I don't think anyone really thought of him as an American.
Cardinal Thomas Collins is the retired Archbishop of Toronto.
I don't think anyone thought. The person I'm voting for who is an American.
This was Cardinal Collins' second conclave, 24 hours and 21 minutes. That's how long the Cardinals were secluded. A time of deep reflection, say Canada's Cardinals, who felt the weight of responsibility as they voted in the Sistine Chapel.
A ritual that is steeped deep in history, and yet has a great significance for people today.
The inaugural Mass in honor of the new Pope is expected to be held on March 18th here at St. Peter's Square. That is expected to be packed once again. Heather.
Geneviève Bushman in Vatican City. Indigenous leaders are welcoming the new Pope and hoping he continues on the road to reconciliation in this country started by his predecessor. CTV's Alex Carpa has reaction from Winnipeg.
Like millions of other people, Kyle Mason watched as Pope Leo XIV stepped out onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus.
It was a joyous day for the some 1.4 billion Catholics around the world, but for others, there were mixed feelings.
It is odd to see such a wealthy institution when there is so much poverty throughout the world.
Back in 2022, Pope Francis apologized to Indigenous people in Canada for the Catholic Church's role in residential schools. He expressed shame for abuses committed by members of the Church. Residential school survivor Geraldine Shingu says the apology wasn't enough. She says the recent funeral of Pope Francis and the election of Pope Leo has been triggering for her.
It's not sitting well with me right now.
She wants to see more dialogue between the new Pope and Indigenous peoples.
Not with Indigenous leadership or with the federal government of Canada, but with residential school survivors, that needs to happen.
National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Cindy Woodhouse, says reconciliation is not easy but necessary and points out there's a lot of work to do.
I hope that we can work on reconciliation together, continue on the hard work that the late Pope had left for us to finish, and there's lots of work to do.
Chief Woodhouse says there are other topics beyond reconciliation that need to be discussed with the new Pope, including repatriation of Indigenous artifacts from the Vatican's possessions and education around residential schools and the Church's involvement in that. But she says she's hopeful that positive dialogue between the Catholic Church and Indigenous peoples will continue. Heather?
Alex, thank you. After nearly 4 years on the run, one of Canada's most wanted fugitives has been arrested.
He is now wanted on a Canada-wide parole warrant, is listed as number 4 on Bull's top 25 most wanted list.
That was last year when 43-year-old Kamar Cunningham was named one of Canada's most wanted. Today, Toronto police say he was arrested in Atlanta. Cunningham was convicted in 2020 in one of Toronto's largest gun trafficking investigations ever.
Just go, Mom, just go.
A raging wildfire in northern Manitoba has forced several communities to flee their homes. Officials say high winds fueled the fire overnight. More than 350 people in areas near the Pas were forced to evacuate. Measles cases are spiking in Ontario, Alberta, and now Saskatchewan. CTV's Alison Bamford is tracking the latest exposure in Saskatoon. Alison.
Heather, this Walmart is just one of several businesses the Saskatchewan Health Authority has flagged for a potential measles exposure risk. We're seeing more and more of these alerts go out this week, just a sign of how quickly the disease is spreading.
A single case can impact up to 20 unvaccinated people.
Saskatchewan doubled its measles case count this week, reaching 27 infections. 3/4 of the cases are in children, the youngest a 5-month-old. All but one were unvaccinated. Manitoba is seeing similar numbers, while Alberta surpassed 300 cases this week. And in Ontario, the province reached 1,440 cases, mostly in rural communities. Quebec has declared its outbreak over.
Prevention is the best medicine, and we have very effective and safe vaccine against measles.
Alberta Medical Association hosted a panel this week to guide parents through the outbreak and raise vaccine awareness. Routine measles vaccines are typically administered at 12 months and again at 18 months. They're not mandatory, but daycares and schools in Ontario and New Brunswick require proof of immunization.
Children can get brain inflammation or encephalitis from measles, and this can cause long-term disability in those children.
If children missed the routine vaccine, they can still receive 2 doses. Susceptible adults born after 1970 can get 1 dose if they're unvaccinated, and those born before 1970 are considered to have acquired natural immunity. Heather?
Alison Bamford in Saskatoon. Coming up.
Our interventions have a chance of really making a difference in this awful disease.
A world first, the Canadian-made breakthrough to fight ALS. Plus, Blue Jays fans think twice about traveling south of the border. Canadian researchers have launched a world-first study to fight ALS in an entirely new way. A focused ultrasound helmet is being used to deliver medications into the brain. CTV's Avis Favreau gives us a look at this unique approach as the study gets underway.
Every step for Bill Traynor is a struggle, his muscles weakening from ALS. Devastating for a former scuba diver and skier. And with existing medications offering little hope, Bill now wants to help scientists change how ALS is treated as part of a world-first study.
I said, whatever you have, whatever you need, I'm there. Whatever you need to do to me, I'm there. I'll do anything to help people cure this.
This is a key, a made-in-Canada helmet that produces low-dose ultrasound. It passes through the skull and temporarily opens a protective membrane around the brain. That barrier usually stops medications from reaching brain tissue.
This is a very exciting day for the ALS community because for the first time ever, we're creating this temporary therapeutic window where our interventions have a chance of really making a difference in this awful disease.
The study begins with Bill getting an IV, a medication that reduces inflammation, often seen in ALS patients, but it doesn't naturally cross that brain barrier. Then doctors place him in the helmet. The ultrasound is activated, and doctors watch to see whether the medication flows to where it's needed.
It's tailored to the patient. Each location of the brain gets the right exposure. And that there's no other device that can do that.
Bill is the first of 6 ALS patients who are part of the study, as doctors watch to see if their brain inflammation lowers and their symptoms improve. Researchers at Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital are already working on the next focused ultrasound helmet that will be more portable, planning studies to see if it will help improve chemotherapy delivery for brain tumors and as a possible tool to treat Alzheimer's.
There's a lot of excitement going on because there's lots of brilliant new approaches. To me, the most exciting one is the focused ultrasound, because you're breaking the blood-brain barrier.
Right there.
And the first test on Bill was a success.
And this area that is brighter is exactly the area that we disrupt the blood-brain barrier.
Scans showed the ultrasound helmet opened the correct targets, those white spots, and the medication was now likely flowing in. And while researchers monitor the effects in the coming months, Bill Traynor says this study has given him new purpose.
I knew there was no guarantee, but I didn't care. I have so much more to live for.
Avis Favreau, CTV News, Toronto.
The late Rob Ford's scandals are about to be revisited on Netflix. The documentary series Trainwreck will release an episode about the former Toronto politician next month, titled Mayor of Mayhem. The episode will cover everything from Ford's headline-filled tenure in local politics to hard drug use. And that's not the only new documentary that Canadians may be interested in.
What?
Pardon me?
Are we sure this is the right guy? Nobody could believe it.
Prime Video has released a new film called Sexiest Man in Winnipeg. It documents the life of local 90s sportscaster Steve Vogelsang and how the popular TV personality somehow turned to robbing banks. Still ahead, cross-border curveball.
I'm a little more content this year just to spend my money in Canada.
Why Blue Jays fans are staying home. Fans of the Toronto Blue Jays are cutting back on travel to away games in the United States during Donald Trump's trade war and annexation threats. Here's CTV's Martin McMahon on the impacts on both sides of the border.
From long lines at the border to a sea of blue at T-Mobile Park, there's always been something special about the Blue Jays playing in Seattle. But Canada-U.S. trade tensions means many fans are bowing out.
Normally I would go down for multiple Mariners games throughout the season, but with the dollar where it's at, the overall political climate, I'm a little more content this year just to spend my money in Canada as opposed to go down there.
I've been there when there was 25,000 Blue Jays fans in the ballpark. I would be awfully surprised if they get 25,000 for any of the 3 games.
Earlier this week, Washington's lieutenant governor gave a grim outlook of how many Canadians are expected to come down.
The initial indication was that reservations have been cut in half as a consequence of what is going on.
Some Americans are showing sympathy.
We just don't deserve you. And so I'm hoping on a larger scale than just Seattle and the Blue Jays and the Mariners, that people in America feel what it's like to not have Canada.
Ultimately, for many fans, it's disappointing it's come to this.
It's supposed to be about the baseball, and because of what's going on, they're taking away from the baseball. Even for some kids who normally would go down and enjoy this experience, if the parents aren't going to take them down, the kids aren't going to get to see it, and maybe they're getting one less Major League Baseball experience because of what's going on.
While it seems many Jays fans are going to stay home, we'll have to wait until these games actually take place to see the scale of the drop-off. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
In the NHL playoffs, Edmonton's superstars stepped up as the Oilers took a 2-0 series lead over the Vegas Golden Knights.
In the OT, McDavid beats one man to the net. Scores!
That connection scored the dramatic overtime winner. Game 3 goes Saturday night back in Edmonton.
There is a lot of Leafs folk going down. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of blue in that arena.
The Leafs and Panthers move to Sunrise, Florida for Game 3 tonight with Toronto up 2-0 in the series, and the Jets hope to bounce back in Winnipeg after dropping Game 1 to the Dallas Stars. After the break, the bid to beautify the city of Frederickton. Some artists who are new to the country are using their talents to brighten up some outdoor spaces in their new home. CTV's Sarah Plowman takes us on a walk through the park.
River trails in Fredericton that offer a front seat to beauty are now dotted with a dose of color, like these garbage cans or benches, brought to life at the Multicultural Association of Fredericton, where newcomers put their mark on public art in a bid to beautify the city and set roots.
It's a really tangible way to say, like, I've laid claim to part of the city, like the city, I belong to the city.
Ahmed Sir Al-Khani's bench is nearly ready.
I didn't expect that it comes out like this, but it's very beautiful.
The 26-year-old left Afghanistan after the Taliban took over nearly 4 years ago, but brought memories with him of flowers and leaves like these that symbolize spring.
Very famous, it's very popular in Afghanistan.
As his bench takes shape, so does Joyce's from Lebanon, too shy to speak but happy to showcase her art.
That's the tree on the flag of Lebanon. It's the Lebanese cedar.
2 of more than 24 benches done in a 3-year project led by Misha Milchenko, an artist and English teacher.
I like to merge my jobs as much as I can.
So here, both skills improve. Helpful to Al-Khani, who works full-time at a hotel and studies English 4 days a week.
It's very interesting to me to learn English, and I'm trying very hard.
And soon it'll be interesting to see how people will appreciate the bench he made.
They will sit on it and they will see this amazing design.
Parking a piece of oneself in the heart of a new home. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Some beautiful pieces. That is our newscast for this Friday. Thank you for watching. I will be back tonight with CTV National News at 11. I hope you can join us. For ongoing coverage of Canada's top stories anytime, tune into CTV News Channel. I'm Heather Butts. Your local CTV News starts right now.